Welcome to Mission 2, Lesson 12 of Zearn. Today our goal is to be able to solve real-life situations using multiplications of decimals. We will know we have been successful if we are able to do that and complete Mission 2, Lesson 12 on Zearn.org.
Lesson 12 is similar to the previous lessons that we've been doing in that we are multiplying using decimals. The only difference is we're taking it a step further now, and we're using it to solve real-life problems, such as the one we have here. Smal and Muhammad are making face masks to earn money for a new PS5. Each mask requires 2 57/100 feet of fabric, and they want to make 82 masks. If Smal purchases 220 feet of fabric, will they be able to make all 82 masks? So the first thing we need to do is decide what it is we're trying to find out. If we look at the question and it states that they want to know if they can make all 82 masks if they have 220 feet of fabric. But in order to solve this problem, we first need to know how much fabric they would need to make 82 masks. And so we need to write an expression or a mathematical problem to be able to solve this. Take a moment and write down a mathematical problem to solve this. Then we'll check together. Welcome back. So looking here, in order to solve this problem, I need to find out how much fabric is needed for 82 masks if each requires 2 57/100 of a foot. This is the multiplication problem I would use to find that out. The first thing I want to do is to get a good estimate so that I'll know if my answer is reasonable when I get to the end. How would you round these numbers to come up with your estimate? Pause here. There are many ways that we could round and estimate to get a good approximation of what a reasonable answer would be. If I round 2 57/100 to a whole number, that would go to 3. And if I were rounding 82 to the nearest tens, that would round down to 80. Or I could just keep that part at 82. There are many different ways that you could do that. The important thing is to create an estimate that's going to let you know if your answer is reasonable. 3 times 8 is 24, and there's 1 0 in the problem, so there's 1 0 at the end. So now I know that my answer should be around 240, but I don't know for sure if 220 feet of fabric is not enough or not. I still need to solve the problem. When I'm solving this problem, I'm going to ignore the decimal for the minute. I can put that back in at the end. I can use any method of multiplication that works for me in order to be able to solve this as well. I'm using the standard multiplication algorithm, but you could also use the area model as well. Pause here and solve, and then we'll come back and check your answer. So I've now done the multiplication and adding, and I'm ready to put my decimal back into the problem. We can do this in 2 different ways. We know that our answer should be somewhere around 240. If I were to put my decimal after 210, that would make my answer close to 240. I can also count the number of decimal places after the decimals in the problem, and that will help me solve it as well. There are 2 places after the decimal in my problem, so there should be 2 places after the decimal in my problem. Either way shows me the correct place to put my decimal. So now I know that in order to make 82 masks, Smal and Muhammad will need 210 74/100 of a foot of fabric in order to complete 82 masks. So my answer is yes, they would have enough if Smal had purchased 220 feet of fabric. If I had just gone on my estimate, I would have concluded that my answer would have been no, they did not have enough fabric. The estimate is really just to give us an idea of what seems reasonable. Let's try another problem. The Yummy Bakery makes 347 dozen cookies each day. They use 1 52/100 of an ounce of sprinkles for each dozen cookies they make. What amount of sprinkles are used each day? Take a moment and determine what it is we're trying to find out. Correct. We want to know the amount of sprinkles that are used each day at the Yummy Bakery. Pause here and round and create your estimate and set up your problem. There are a variety of different ways that you could estimate this problem. I chose to round 347 to the nearest hundreds place, which would be 300, and 1 52/100 to the nearest whole number, which would be 2. In doing so, when I multiply this, I come up with an estimation of 600 ounces. I've set up my problem using the standard multiplication algorithm, but you could also solve it using the area model as well. Remember that when you're solving, this 5 is not really a 5. It represents 50, and there is the 0 in the ones place that we will need to hold the ones place down here in our partial product. This 1 is not really a 1. It represents 100, and there are 2 zeros which hold the place values of 1s and 10s in our partial product's answer. Pause here, solve the problem, and come back to check your work. Great, we now have our answer. However, we still need to put the decimal into it. Pause here and do so now. If I count the number of places after the decimal in the problem, there are 2 places, which tells me I need to have 2 places after my decimal in the answer. I can double check this by looking at 527 and asking myself, is that a reasonable answer if my estimate is 600? I think it's reasonable because if I were to put my decimal here, then that would give me a whole number of 52, which is not close to 600. If I were to put my decimal over here, that would give me a whole number of 5,274, which again is not close to 600. So 527 44/100 of an ounce seems reasonable to me. Hope this helps.